Most people imagine South Korea as a place of safety, progress, and order. But in 2021, the quiet city of Cheongju became the stage for a nightmare that would shock the nation. A story now known as South Korea's House of Horrors. She called herself a pastor, promising healing, shelter, and spiritual salvation. When new arrivals entered, the locks clicked shut. Windows were blacked out. The air grew heavy with fear. It began with hope. Vulnerable people searching for a new start, a cure, or simply a place to belong, were drawn to a woman named Jeong Mi-sook. But behind the doors of her modest house, the reality was far from holy. The victims, men and women, young and old, were stripped of their freedom. Phones were confiscated. Contact with the outside world was cut off. For some, days blurred into weeks. For others, months of captivity and terror. Others clung to the memory of freedom, waiting for a chance to escape. Jeong Mi-sook was not alone. She had loyal followers, her enforcers, who helped control every movement, delivering punishments for even the smallest perceived sins. Food was rationed. Water was withheld. Some victims were forced to kneel for hours, others beaten or starved for imagined transgressions. They discovered journals, notes, and recordings, painful documentation of the abuse. Others spoke of the mental games, being told their families had abandoned them, that only the cult could save them. The court heard how faith was weaponized and how trust was turned into a tool of control. Psychological torment became routine. Prayers twisted into threats. Sermons became sessions of humiliation and control. But their courage in escaping and speaking out brought new awareness to the dangers of cults and illegal confinement. Victims were told their suffering was a test, that only obedience would bring salvation. The house became not just a prison, but a tomb. But so does the lesson. Sometimes the greatest dangers hide behind the most ordinary doors. Some tried to resist, but resistance was met with violence. At least one person did not survive. The abuse continued, day after day. Some victims lost hope, falling into silence. Risking everything, they slipped out into the night and ran for help. But the captors made a fatal mistake. In late 2021, one survivor saw an opening and distracted guard. A door left ajar. The police raid was swift and shocking. Officers stormed the house, rescuing several victims and arresting Jeong Mi-sook and her key accomplices. Inside, investigators found a house transformed into a prison. Rooms with barred windows, makeshift locks, and evidence of months of torment. The survivors' stories were harrowing. Some described being lured by promises of healing, only to be trapped and tortured. The trial that followed gripped the nation. Jeong Mi-sook sat stone-faced as survivors testified about starvation, beatings, and psychological torture. South Korea watched in disbelief as the details emerged. How could such cruelty hide in plain sight? How did neighbors and authorities miss the warning signs? The aftermath left deep scars. Survivors faced long journeys to recovery, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Tonight, as the city of Cheongju returns to quiet, the scars of the House of Horrors remain. In memory of the victims, may their courage never be forgotten.